We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. It is Wednesday. Now, I left Minnesota where it was about minus 15, a little bit of snow, but not a lot. Came down to the deep south, down to Savannah, Georgia, to our place here. Thought I'd warm things up a little bit, and we did. But right now, as I record this at about 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night, it's about 20 degrees, and we've got a mix between snow and ice. So fuck me. What the hell am I going to do? We got some snowstorm coming. Now I'm trying to wonder, I'm supposed to come back on Thursday, and I can drive in this stuff. This ain't nothing. But does everything close down around me, including airports and that sort of stuff? We'll have to see tomorrow what happens. Or today as you're listening to this. We'll see how much snow we get here and how it impacts everything, because we're flying out of Orlando, so even if it's okay here, we don't know what the fuck's going on down in Orlando. This show is just going to be me, just me alone. It's been a little while since I've done one alone. I've been doing these lives, and they've been fun to do, and I'm going to do a lot more of the lives. I hope you like them, because I'm doing them regardless. So, I don't know. But this one, we've got some emails to catch up with. Donald Trump is creating a shit show. The shit show ensues. It's getting a little weird out there, folks. I don't know what to expect. The important thing to understand is we're hearing about all these executive orders. And these executive orders aren't commandments, meaning they don't happen instantaneously just because Donald Trump says that. They are, in fact, almost like a wish list. A lot of things are going to get pushed back. For example, he's addressing the 14th Amendment. No, not that part of the 14th Amendment. Birthright citizenship. He wants to overturn that, so he put out an executive order. The only problem with it is, legally, you can't overturn an amendment with an executive order. You would think he'd know that, but he's trying to play some legal games and take it through court. But don't worry about that. There's already been 25 states that are filing lawsuits against the Trump administration regarding this executive order. And the important thing you have to understand about Donald Trump, he doesn't care if it goes through or not. He's all about the performance. He's a fucking show pony. All he wants to do is make it look like he's a tough guy, or at least he's trying to do the things that all the goofballs behind him want him to do. He doesn't care if it really happens. Donald Trump's not the kind of motherfucker that puts in the work. He doesn't do that sort of thing. He just puts on a show. A lot of people are upset. A lot of people are concerned about all the things that are going to happen. And make no mistake, there will be some fucked up things, but it won't be as bad as you expect. Donald Trump's incompetent. He's not substantive. He doesn't get things done. All you have to do is go back to the last term that he had from 2017 to 2021. Didn't get much accomplished. He got the tax break for the rich, but that was about it. Anything that got passed back then had help with the Democrats, and during the Biden term, even when the Republicans had control of the House, they couldn't get anything done without the Democrats. And now it's not much better this time around. The margin is slimmer for the Republicans, and then Donald Trump goes off and pisses off the chairman, Mike Turner of the Intelligence Committee for the House of Representatives, who's a Republican, fires his ass because he doesn't suck up enough to Donald Trump. And Mike says, fuck it, I'm not voting for anything. So that's one more. If he sticks by that, that's one more vote that they can't count on in the House, making it virtually impossible for him to do anything. Now, the interesting thing, he also pardoned a bunch of these January 6th insurrectionists, like 1,000 of them. Initially, we heard him say, and J.D. Vance say, well, we're not going to pardon the violent ones. Well, Donald Trump apparently got all full of himself. I got power. And said, fuck it, I'm going to pardon 1,600 people. Now, all these people are coming out, and they're going to reform, and some people thinking that Donald Trump's going to have his own little militia. These guys are fuck-ups, you know. They may be meat-eating, red meat-eating, mouth-breathing dumb fucks, and they have a tendency toward violence. But here's what I'm going to say. People of this country are not going to take shit. You know, people on the left aren't aren't inherently violent, but I can assure you there's going to be some pushback. There's enough people that are afraid, concerned, and terrified for the future, terrified for their kids and their grandkids like me and you. People are going to push back. They aren't going to be able to go very far with some of these things. They aren't going to get, Donald Trump's not going to get much passed in the House or the Senate because of the filibuster. And even with the courts, he's going to have some problems. Remember, Joe Biden appointed a record number of federal judges. This is not going to be an easy thing for Donald Trump. And I know people are worried right now, but you have to understand this is exactly what Donald Trump or any bully does. He wants you fucking scared. That's what he's trying to do. And he gets in there in his first day and his second day yesterday, and it's a flurry of rhetoric and a flurry of executive orders, but it's all pretty much a show. Again, I'm not going to say that there isn't going to be some fucked up shit going on, but Democrats have a tendency to listen to Donald Trump and say, oh, he said that, so that's going to happen. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. Donald Trump doesn't have a history of getting things done. Remember the infrastructure bill for 2 weeks from now that never happened? The health care bill that never happened? He's going to try to fuck some things up, and he might very well do that. But as far as being as damaging as what some of us are afraid he's going to be, I just don't. I don't think that's what we're going to see. Here's the thing about the releasing of the insurrectionist. This is leaving a bad taste in the mouth for all Republicans, really, because they're getting asked the question, you really believe that? You really want to do that? Especially since you're still in the fucking Capitol and you were under the gun when these clowns started to attack. They're doing what Republicans do. They don't answer, they divert, they distract, they delay, whatever the fuck they do. This is what Donald Trump is going to do to these people. He's going to continue to embarrass them and putting them in bad positions. And at some point, they're going to get tired of this bullshit. So we'll have to see what happens. But I'm worried, but I'm not as worried as some people are. And just understand, Donald Trump is a bully. Republicans are bullies. They want you afraid. That's not how you deal with a bully. You slap the taste out of their mouth. You push them down. You push back. That's when bullies run and hide. If you cave in and cry and whine and terrified, well, they fucking win. And I don't know about you, I'm not going to let the motherfuckers win. Because as I've often quoted Bernie Mac, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers. I've heard some stories of some people on TikTok that were getting doxxed. I think Good Trouble and some other people getting doxxed by some Trumplefucks and then threatening them and coming after them. I've never really gotten any death threats. And honestly, I'm not afraid of these dumb fucks. Fortunately, I live in Minnesota. There's fewer of them. There's some up there. Trust me on that. But I'm not really worried about these people because I know who they are. They're fucking bullies. And I'm not the kind of guy that's going to shy away from these motherfuckers. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to be 65 years old. I'm not as tough as I once was. However, I am a little vindictive. And I'm smart enough to know I'm not going to walk up to somebody and punch them in the face because I don't have that kind of ability anymore. Well, maybe I do because they look pretty fucking weak. But the point is there's other ways to get things done. You can fuck up somebody's life perfectly legally if you want to. You can. But again, I'm not worried about it. People say, be careful, be careful. I'm fine. I'm going to be fine. Let's get to some of the emails here. I'm going to read those as we're going along here. This one comes from Midwest J. It says, hey, Mike, just got done listening to you and Abe's podcast Monday. About to 70% of the American population wanting rational gun control. I sure the fuck hope it's not the 70% that was against abortion because those motherfuckers didn't show up. Thanks, Midwest J. You make a good point. You make an excellent point. I mean, here's the deal. That's one of the things I talked about all the time. Certainly, overturning Roe v. Wade is going to have some impact on the election. 70% of the people support Roe v. Wade. Donald Trump tells us himself that he's taking away Roe v. Wade, that he's proud of that. That should have been enough to win the election. Fuck me, it didn't happen. I don't know what to say about that. And Midwest J is absolutely right. If it's the same motherfuckers that were supporting Roe v. Wade, well, we're in trouble. Next one says, hey, Boomer and Boomer Brigade, I really thought you and Abe were great today. 2025 is off to a real bad start. You guys today were talking about the Republicans and the Democrats and how flawed the Democrats are and how we underestimate the Republicans. Well, I'm taking it another step, and I'm going to shoot from the hip, New York attitude and kitchen sink. Here's the truth. The other day, my wife and I watched the service at the Church for President Carter. I was mesmerized by watching Trump and Obama yucking it up and making nice, and I realized and said to my wife, look at this crap. Man, are we being played like nobody's ever been played before? Yeah, I thought the same thing. And that's the size of it. It's all BS. It's all a big show, and we keep buying it. Well, to a certain extent, it is a big show. I mean, we've heard stories of how Republicans and Democrats fight tooth and nail on the House or the Senate floor, and then go out for dinner together. It's kind of like WWE wrestling. Anyone who still thinks and being these political parties are legit is brain dead. The Republicans are the bad cop and the Democrats are the good cop. One tried to scare you, the other says that they're going to help you. Bullshit. The both of them have the same goal. Screw us and steal everything not nailed down in the process and sell the rest off to the highest bidder. The expiration date on bullshit is way past. Z-Man. I don't always agree with Z-Man on some of the things he does. He's a little fatalistic about some things, but I don't think he's too far off the mark here. I think he's on to something. And it's something I've said all along. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I don't trust any of those motherfuckers. The reason I sided with the Democrats is because that was the only way to take out the dumpster fire that is the Republican Party. Well, that didn't work. So, who do you trust? There was a lot of people suggesting that something was going to happen in the background to stop Donald Trump from being stop Donald Trump from being inaugurated. A lot of people held on to that. And that's what people do. When they're upset, when they're scared, they'll grab onto anything and believe it's real. We had astrologers, we had psychics, we had everyday Joes coming out here and say, oh, look at this and look at this. Something's happening. And I was skeptical about that, mainly because I haven't seen any of that kind of action out of the Democrats or the DOJ. They've always pushed out, haven't they? So why would they do it now? And unfortunately, I was proven right. They didn't do a goddamn thing in spite of the 14th Amendment or anything else they might have used. Hell, the last 4 years going after Donald Trump, they didn't really accomplish much. They sure got the 34 felony convictions, but so what? He's still president, and he got no punishment. So what the fuck? I tend to agree with you, Mike, or Z-Man. His name is Mike, too. I appreciate the comments, and this is something we really got to look at. We've got to consider that. I mean, going forward to 2026 and 2028, who do you trust? I'm not sure you can trust anybody. I'm sure there's some people, the Democrats, and maybe a Republican or two, we can trust to be decent and honest. But they seem to be few and far between, and they don't seem to be the ones in power. The people that they make the chairs of these committees are the most ridiculous ones. I hope to hell somebody like Hakeem Jeffries or Sheldon Whitehouse or somebody or AOC can step up and accomplish something, but I'm not so sure as yet, and I'm not going to get confident of that until I see some action. Z-Man had this to add. One more thing, Boomer. This is a chilly Monday. How much do you want to bet the prices on everything magically begin to drop like bricks after the inauguration? How much do you want to bet they were deliberately kept high for political purposes? What do you think, Z-Man? I don't think that's true. In fact, it's proving out not to be true. I've seen gas prices go up a little bit. Nothing's dropped. And hey, guess what? the Ukraine-Russia war isn't over yet. Donald Trump said he could do it within 24 hours of being elected. That didn't work, so I gave him a little credit and said, well, let's wait till he's president. We'll give him 24 hours after he is inaugurated. Well, that's already passed. All he said was it was going to take one phone call and it would be over. Apparently, he hasn't made that phone call yet. That fucking thing is going to go on and on. And in spite of the ceasefire with Israel and Hamas, don't be so surprised if that falls through. Donald Trump was asked about it, and he says, I don't know, it's not our war. I'm not confident that it's over. So who's his best buddy? Bibi Netanyahu is his best buddy. And if that war ends, Bibi's in trouble. Bibi could get kicked out of office and may go to jail. Bibi doesn't want the war to end, and he's Donald Trump's buddy. So I'm anxious to see how that goes. I hope to hell they do have a ceasefire. I hope to hell that they release all of the hostages. They've released some of them already, but not all of them. All right, the next one says, hello, fellow boomer. I have written to you several times. I'm from the southernmost part of New Jersey. I live close to Wildwood, where Trump again lied about his crowd size during a rally in 2024. I believe it is also where he launched his Hannibal Lecter rants. That's a classic. This is a red area, and there are test scores in our school districts to correlate to the political preference. Don't get me wrong, I'm a retired teacher in Wildwood, but politics have played a dominant part in funding and curriculum. To say the least, it's been disheartening. Anyway, I love your podcast. I listen almost daily on Spotify. I would join your lives late at night, but I'm an early bird, not a night owl. I refuse to watch or listen to the inauguration farce. I don't think a lot of us watched it. Didn't miss much from what I've heard. It was kind of a Debbie Downer. Everybody was frowning. It wasn't fun. It wasn't a party atmosphere, but why would it be? I'm curious to know how many of your followers are going to tune in or refuse to tune in. A convicted felon, adjudicated rapist, a habitual liar, fraudster, cheater, among other abhorrent qualities, swearing on a Bible to uphold the Constitution. Nah, I'll pass. I would bet the vast amount of people listening to this podcast did not watch the inauguration. And you mentioned the Bible. That's an interesting angle here. Donald Trump is a deity, a religious icon, maybe the Messiah himself to the evangelical community. Donald Trump stepped up for the inauguration. He put his right hand up, and his left hand stayed at his side, while Melania, in a bolero hat, clearly trying to cover up her face, held the Bibles. But Donald Trump didn't think to put his hand on the Bible like they normally do. The evangelicals always screamed about somebody who was being sworn in, and they put their hand on the Koran or something else, something that their belief is. They always said, oh, you got to put your hand on the Bible. It's in the Constitution. No, it's not in the Constitution. But they always said that. I'm curious as to how they feel about Donald Trump not putting his hand on the Bible. Did he forget? Was he worried about burning his fucking hand? I don't know. But he didn't do it. And that should be a red flag to evangelicals. You think this guy is religious. He's sent from God. Please, motherfucker. He goes on to say, as I've said before, love what you do. Check into Van Drew. He is our congressional representative from District 2 in New Jersey. He flipped from Democrat to Republican, and he's been kissing the orange turd's ass and spreading disinformation ever since recently. Drones from Iran and California wildfires being DEI and smelt fault. What the fuck? Wait, but I do have great news. I'm currently on a trip coming back from a vacation in Turks and Caicos. Love that place. I was there like 40 years ago. Yeah, about 40 years ago. My wife and I were just married. There was a department store in Minneapolis at the time, Dayton's. It's not there anymore. It was a long-standing department store, a lot of history. But she entered a contest to win tickets to an Elton John concert. Well, we didn't win the tickets to the Elton John concert, but they called her and said, hey, you won the grand prize. a trip to any Club Med that we go to. So, we're young, we're in our 20s, we got no money. We said, fuck, Turks and Caicos looks cool, and it was cool. It was very cool. But here we are in Turks and Caicos with a bunch of rich people from New York City, have all the money in the world, doctors, lawyers, whatever, and we, these 20-something, 25-year-old kids that don't have any money. It was fun in terms of the location, the beaches, and the activities. The people, a little fucked up. He goes on to say, don't consider me privileged because it was a hard-earned trip. Anyhow, I did not see one red hat nor Trump-la-fuck t-shirt. Also, everyone I spoke to rolled their eyes at the mention of the upcoming FOTUS, felony of the United States. This is the kind of experience that makes me wonder if we really got the votes to elect him. Blue Dot in South Jersey, Liz. Well, thank you, Liz. Hey, Boomer, just for your information, Martin Kerr is doing a benefit concert in LA at the Hotel Cafe on February 21st, 2025 for the fire victims. I've attached a link where you can view his announcement. It's my hope you will mention it and possibly either share with me or how to get in touch with Abe or pass the information along to him. I was finally able to write down Will's info, but haven't been able to catch Abe's info. I think I may have sent it to you, but I'm not sure. If I haven't, I will. I'm sure Abe wouldn't mind in that situation. And by the way, Martin Kerr, I've seen him on TikTok. This guy's a very talented guy. And I've said before, maybe what we need, after I saw the Dylan show, maybe we need some protest songs out there. It seemed to help in the 1960s, and we really don't have anything like that. But after watching Martin Kerr, I beg to differ now. He's very good. Check him out on TikTok or YouTube or wherever he is. You'll enjoy it. And the benefit would be a wonderful thing if you happen to be in California. Hopefully, a lot of folks will show up and they'll make a lot of money to help the folks out there. If there's any way to help get the word out, I will appreciate it greatly, and so will a lot of people. Martin says he doesn't feel right playing the circuit without giving back at this time where there is so much need. Thank you again very much for all you do. Contrary Mary. P.S. The answer is blowing in the wind. Keep the breeze coming. Well, we will do that. We will keep the breeze coming. I can't do a protest song, but I can talk every day and I can throw out a motherfucker now and then, and hopefully that's helpful. All right, continuing on. Hi, Mike. I share your frustration with the Democrats' lackluster response to Trump and MAGA. Their approach feels ineffective and non-strategic, and they're failing to clearly communicate the real-world impact of their policies. I feel that the lack of connection is creating a disconnect with the voters, especially younger Americans. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. The Democrats did more than lose an election. Usually I have water here, and I forgot the fucking water, so my throat's getting dry. Anyway, I think it's worse than having lost the election because I think a lot of people, young and old, are a little disillusioned with the Democrats. They're going to have to come up with something to gain the confidence again if they hope to do well in 2026. The only hope they possibly have is that the Republicans and Donald Trump are so fucked up, that's the only option available. Goes on to say, I recently came across an article highlighting that many younger Americans believe government policies have little to no impact on their lives, so that they don't see the importance of voting. This generation also feels alienated by a government run by old leaders who seem to be out of touch with the challenges they face. From my experience managing young professionals, many feel disillusioned about their future, particularly when it comes to home ownership, which they view as unattainable for them. I tend to agree. Our government is fucked up in looking ahead. We've got to figure out a way where millennials and Gen Zs can make enough money and afford and qualify for buying homes and cars and for whatever. Because if we don't do that, our economy is fucked up. They're going to be supporting the economy, and none of them can buy anything, which is the position they're in currently, we're fucked as a country. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. If Democrats want to boost voter turnout, they must focus on educating voters and how their policies and the GOP's policies directly affect everyday life. Not only do they have to educate them, they actually have to do something to affect people's everyday life. For instance, Kamala Harris spoke about addressing corporate price gouging, but there was little effort to explain how corporate greed is undermining society. This includes private equity driving up medical costs, power companies prioritizing shareholders over safety, corporations buying up housing, and pushing us toward a renter nation. A handful of corporations dominating the food supply. The Dems should be showing the low tax rate Trump gave corporations, but yet profits reached record levels and everyday consumer prices increased. Democrats need to connect these dots for voters, showing how these issues affect their lives and how Republican policies are negatively impacting the average American. They should also emphasize how Democratic policies can improve quality of life instead of focusing on abstract concepts like saving democracy. A message that resonates with the older generations but falls flat with younger ones. They need to ground their messaging in practical, relatable terms. If they want to engage younger voters, they must make these connections clear and relevant. And I couldn't agree more. There's got to be a change in the Democratic Party. There's got to be a change in the way the government runs, and we've got to help these younger folks. I don't feel it as much because I'm an older guy. My life is pretty well set, a pension, Social Security, and whatever other income I can make. I had an easier time. We all had an easier time back in the day when we needed to buy a house, buy a car, in order to consume and create a perpetual economy. We're getting close to a point where we can't do that because these young people can't. I think if there's one priority we need to make in the coming years is somehow raise the income of these kids. Prices are one thing. They're going to go up and down. The gouging will happen until we try to stop it, but we're not going to get that done with Donald Trump in office. But we've got to find a way where people can make more money, a livable wage for a good day's work. That's all we ask. And apparently that's too much for Republicans. Next one says, "Hi, Mike. I'm sorry I don't get a chance to see all your podcasts. However, I do see a lot of your shorts." Not those kind of shorts. He means the short videos. "Always enjoy listening to you and your wisdom. I know my brother," okay, this is her. "My brother Steve listens to you faithfully every day. He thinks very highly of you and you uplift him. By the way, I noticed the Golden Gopher blanket is no longer on the couch." Actually, it was still on the couch. It was just moved over, and after I saw this email, you might notice I moved it back. I didn't know that was a thing for some folks, but I'm here to give you what you want. She says, "I always like seeing it and miss it. It's so cute. LOL. I'm a big football fan and wondering what happened to the Vikings in their last game." Well, they sucked. They sucked the last two games, and that's also common with the Vikings. They have a great year and everybody's excited and we're going to the Super Bowl, and then they pull the fucking rug out. This ain't nothing new. This always happens. This always happens with the Minnesota Vikings. Goes on to say, "Me, I follow Jimmy G all over, even if he doesn't get to play. Go Rams, ha. Well, hope you are doing well. Keep up the good work and keep blocking those Trump humpers. Much aloha, Cheryl Lynn." Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. Here's another one from the Z-Man. "Hey, Boomer, no need to read this on the air. I'm beginning to see a smattering of anti-MAGA on social media. My neighborhood took down their Trump sign. You're right about what might happen." Now, I'm not sure what we're talking about there, but there are going to be people that are going to say, "Holy fuck, that's just a bridge too far," even if they are Trump humpers, especially when it has a negative effect on our economy. "Hi, Mike. My name is Michelle." She gives her last name. I'm not going to give it out there. "And I'm your female boomer counterpart from Columbus, Ohio. I'm a regular pod listener, although I don't stay up late enough for your lives, but I catch up via the pod. I have to say I'm impressed by your dedication to content creation. I know you say you're just an old retired guy with nothing better to do but a daily post, let alone multiples on multiple platforms is a whole other level. Now, I got to give you some, I got to point something out. I am on multiple platforms, but it's all the same shit. I'm not doing different shit for each platform. So it is all the same stuff. It's just a matter of uploading it to those other platforms. She goes on to say, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm almost 63, Ohio born and lifer. And unlike a certain VP elect, I grew up in eastern Ohio, actually in Appalachia, amidst the coal mines and steel mills. Guess what? I also voted for Reagan in my first election, even wrote my senior paper on the man. I'm a Reformed Republican since '81, a recovering Catholic since my first Holy Communion at 11 in a pink dress, no less, and a lifelong social justice warrior. I married a cop. He retired in 2010, and we are grandparents, dog lovers, and enjoy shooting sports. Ours aren't the only ones with firearms, which says ours, she means Republicans. Like your wife, I'm a career educator. I started out in the inner city of Columbus teaching high school English for 8 years, moved to suburban high school where I was a teacher and diversity trainer. Guess that is what teaching in the hood earned you. For another 7 years, got my PhD and taught at small university for a decade training teachers and finished my professional career working for the State Teachers Union for almost 5 years as an education reform consultant. I work between our state legislature and school districts to interpret and implement legislative education mandates, having a Republican majority thanks to gerrymandering. Lots of those reforms were bad for teachers and students. Ohio has been a real training ground for Project 2025 educational reforms we are all about to see materialize. In the past few months, I've been writing a series of letters on my Facebook page to my Republican friends. I use that term loosely. Prior to the election and to my Dem friends since fuck those Trumplafucks explaining issues, legislation, and Project 2025. Like you, I'm approaching the next 4 years very differently from those years. I refuse to allow the clown and the circus crew to steal my joy and energy and destroy my nervous system. I'm also a yoga teacher and try to practice what I preach. I'm going to work locally to effect a change where I can, and I will use my words to criticize the clown crew and showcase their failures, which will be innumerable. My Facebook handle is Michelle Waderger, and I make those letters public since friends requested the ability to share. I don't have much presence on other platforms, but I'm a consummate lurker on IG and TikTok, which I really hope doesn't go away because the First Amendment, Well, it did go away, but now it's back. But what is it we have right now? We'll wait and see on that. I have enjoyed all your podcasts like everyone else. I love Old Soul. We could definitely hang together. If you and I can be useful to your followers unpacking legislation, Ohio perspective, education, specific issues, I would love to chat. In the meantime, stay warm. We are headed to negative lows next week, and keep poking the bear. Michelle. Well, thank you, Michelle. And like anybody else, you're just as welcome to come on the show. You can do that if you'd like. All you have to do is send me an email at rationalboomer@gmail.com. Tell me when you're available, and we'll try to work something out.